Welcome to Have You Read It, the channel where we bring books to life, one summary at a time. Today we're diving into Born to Rule, the Making and Remaking of the British Elite by Reeves and Friedman. This book isn't just an academic study. It's a provocative look at power, privilege, and the evolving face of the British elite. It combines rigorous data analysis with personal stories, painting a fascinating picture of who holds power in Britain, how they got there, and why it matters. The authors challenge common assumptions about meritocracy and social mobility, offering a nuanced perspective on the deep-rooted influence of wealth, schooling, and social networks. Let's start with the central question: who are the British elite? The authors use Who's Who, a biographical dictionary of influential people, as their primary source. It's a fascinating choice because Who's Who doesn't just catalog the elite, it consecrates them. Inclusion becomes a mark of distinction, reflecting and shaping public perceptions of who matters. This approach allows the authors to trace the lineage of power over 125 years, identifying the 125,000 individuals who've shaped Britain since the turn of the 20th century. They also introduce the concept of the wealth elite, those in Who's Who also occupy the top 1% of the wealth distribution. This smaller group of around 6,000 individuals combines positional and economic power, offering a compelling lens for understanding the dynamics of influence. One of the most striking observations in the book is the contemporary elite's deep discomfort with the label elite. They reject the term, often with palpable irritation, preferring to portray themselves as ordinary, meritocratic, and even upwardly mobile. This contrasts sharply with earlier elites, who were more at ease with their privilege and status. The book explores how this shift in self-presentation manifests, examining the ways in which today's elite downplay their privileged upbringings, construct elaborate origin stories, and position themselves as the beneficiaries of a more open and meritocratic Britain. This performance of ordinariness is fascinating, and the authors offer compelling insights into why it's so prevalent. They suggest it's a form of impression management, a way to build connections across class divides and deflect potential criticism about elitism. It's not just about being modest, it's about securing legitimacy in a society increasingly sensitive to inequality. This performance, however, is often at odds with the reality of persistent elite reproduction. Despite significant social and economic changes over the past century, the main pathways to elite positions remain remarkably effective. Family wealth continues to provide a powerful advantage, although the influence of elite schools has declined somewhat. Oxford and Cambridge, while no longer the sole gateway to the top, still hold a disproportionate sway over elite recruitment. The authors use innovative data analysis to unpack these trends, revealing, for instance, that someone from the top 1% of the wealth distribution is 20 times more likely to reach the elite. The book challenges the narrative of a meritocratic Britain, showing how wealth is often converted into educational advantages and social connections. While access to elite schools may have become more competitive, the wealthy have found new ways to ensure their children's success, such as investing in superstate schools or private tutoring. The book examines these evolving strategies of privilege, highlighting the persistence of inequality despite a broader expansion of educational opportunities. The book goes beyond simply documenting who gets ahead. It asks, why does elite reproduction matter? The authors argue that it has profound implications for the kind of society we live in. Elites from privileged backgrounds tend to have different political and cultural orientations, often leaning towards the right and prioritizing economic growth over social welfare. This ideological coherence can have significant consequences for policy decisions, shaping the distribution of resources and opportunities. The wealth elite, in particular, wield a disproportionate influence, using their economic power to further their political agenda. The book also highlights the distinct perspectives of women and people of color within the elite. Women, even those from wealthy backgrounds, are notably more progressive than their male counterparts. People of color bring a critical lens to issues of race and empire, often advocating for a more just and equitable society. The growing representation of these groups within the elite holds the potential for significant political and social change. The book is not just a critique. It offers a range of policy recommendations for a more inclusive and equitable society. These include reforming property taxes, removing VAT exemptions for private schools, and even implementing a wealth tax. The authors also propose more radical ideas, such as adding workers to corporate boards and replacing the House of Lords with a randomly selected Senate. While these proposals may be controversial, they highlight the need for bold action to address the persistent inequalities within the British elite. The main takeaway from Born to Rule is that the performance of ordinariness often masks the reality of persistent elite reproduction. While Britain may appear more open and meritocratic, the influence of wealth, schooling, and social networks remains profound. This has important implications for the kind of society we live in, shaping our political discourse and policy decisions. The authors argue that addressing these deep-rooted inequalities requires not just individual effort, but also fundamental structural change. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next book dive.